Hopefully the ones who had great genuine only late. We use a pen and not a gun, it's time for fun. We're going hunting, we're going hunting, here we come.
The obstacles the autograph collector must overcome. We almost never will be provided with multiple handwritten autographs of a particular celebrity in our physical possession to actually analyze pen strokes. Pen strokes are something you can look at when you obtain an autograph in person, and it can help you verify the mail items from the same person. Things to look for would be where his pen is light and skipping and where it is heavy, and with some practice you can tell what angle the pen was held at. But unfortunately, we have no resources for all the celebrities we don't personally meet. So for now, we must use our examples from an in-person signatures from books and magazines and online. Therefore, until we are provided with some future technology enabling us to clearly see and compare known to be authentically signed signatures, we are at a disadvantage to the court system, where they will force the person at question to sign multiple times in their presence. In a court of law, they'll have a person sign his name between a 1-inch space 10 times, between a 2-inch space 10 times, and between a 3-inch space 10 times. By doing this, they're able to determine the height versus the length of a signature. In other words, if a person's height is usually 1 inch tall and his length is 3 inches long, when he signs his signature 2 inches tall, the length will usually be 6 inches long. The height and length characteristic is a good tool to get used to using. You could use a tape measure to measure the overall length and width of the autograph, or sometimes even between certain letters. Also, the court now has many in-person examples that they know are authentic because it was signed in front of their eyes, and they are able to use their microscopes and magnifying glasses to look close at the pen strokes to see where the person commonly has light pressure, where he has heavy pressure, how he holds his hand. They're able to tell the angle of his hand by the way that the pen strokes on the paper. Again, us as autograph collectors are limited because we do not have these multiple examples and we do not have them in person. We're limited to just examples that are Xerox copies in books or pictures on the computer or in magazines. We unfortunately cannot hold the celebrities on trial. Another problem that we have is ink and paper age. In court, there is a process at which they can tell how old the ink is and how old the paper is. It's a very expensive process. The problem with autograph collecting is, number one, the expense, and number two, it's a destructive process, so you would end up ruining your autograph. Now that we see the obstacles that we're presented with in today's autograph world, let's look at what we could do with what evidence is available. And at the end of this video, we'll show you how we can fully overcome all our obstacles. without the signature looks really good. It will match your book, but it being on the picture, in the picture, was very difficult because it was made by a jet ink printer, and it's not really a glossy photo. So the problem was very difficult to see if it was shining because it was more of a fine tip marker that was used too.
Yeah. And the only way you see it, you can see the dots.
So we were able to look closer at it with this little, it's called a microscope, but it's just a Micronta, it's called, 30X, and it has a little light on it, and a focuser, and when you put that on the signature, you can look real close. It'll even show you sometimes, depending on the type of paper, it'll show you a dot pattern of the photo. And here, see if you can take a closer look at the signature.
It is difficult to see dot patterns in actual clarity here through the pixels of the scanner and the pixels of the video film. Therefore, you really need to experiment on your own with the naked eye. But as you can clearly see in this example, the dot pattern of the photo runs into the marker line, thus showing it is just part of the photo. A similar problem with the pixel limits of my 8 megabyte camera, but you're still able to see a big difference here looking through the handheld microscope. Here I drew a line with a blue Sharpie so you can see the difference. The actual Sharpie line is a clear straight line and does not have a dot pattern running into it. Looking through the handheld microscope, this difference will even be easier to see with the naked eye. Here we'll take a look at the Stan Musial signed postcard. While using the handheld microscope, you can notice an abnormal bluish ghost on the inside of the alleged pen strokes. Also, there is a bleeding or connecting of the dots to the line. These are dead giveaways that this autograph is also in the picture, not actually written on the photo. Another look, we again see the bluish purplish ghost on the fake line copied into the picture. This line is the pen stroke of the name Gary that was actually written on the photo with a pen. You can again see the authentic straight line with no ghost or pixel blending, and you will see it much more clear when you use the naked eye. Also, you can see where the pen dug into the photo, showing the white cardstock under the photo. Some signers seem to have all bad days. Here my family met Ryan O'Neill, and he seemed very pleasant and happy to sign for us all. Yet every signature was very unlike each other. We received 4 or 5 signatures that day, which were all very different. Here are 2 of them. Also notice how his pen even was not smooth and had a slow forged look to it in spots. Once again showing us we can never assume a signature is forged, but we also should never buy a signature with little consistencies, which would be my guess as to why he signs like this. The through the mail signatures are also all very different and a good conversation piece, but I personally feel if you want to be sure it's real, that you need to get it in person for yourself. This is also the case nowadays with many current stars who are unable to keep up with the demand. Until the autograph world can better analyze pen strokes, signatures that are bad day signatures are of very low resale value and some worthless unless you have a matching picture. Here is a look at some matching pictures I took. To be able to show the signed photo as the same photo shown with the star is very good authentication proof. Fortunately, over 90% of all celebrities have very consistent handwriting and are much more easier to authenticate. Regardless of your expertise in the forensics of autographs, you cannot tell an auto pen or secretary signature without information. An autograph collector needs to always keep his ears and eyes open through word of mouth, magazines, internet, and personal findings in order to keep up with the 10% of celebrities who try to fool collectors. Here is a personal finding that happened to me. I was writing to Jackie Gleason in the 80s and was receiving a fast response every time I sent to him.
He also sent me his postcard many times. This was a big surprise to autograph collectors at the time because his signature was not seen through the 70s. Here is a postcard he sent out in the 60s that shows a similar signature but different in many ways. So the question is, did his signature change in the missing 10 or 15 years? Here is a very early signature on a contract that is probably authentic, but very different than the neat and easy to read handwriting in the 80s. As you see, PSA DNA has passed them all as authentic, and if you look on eBay, there are many of them for sale every day. So here is what happened to me. I sent a letter to him on June 25th, 1987, not knowing till after I already mailed it that he had passed away from cancer the day before. But to my surprise, a month later I received my index card back signed. The first thing I thought was, he must have pre-signed many before his death, and maybe a secretary added the too rich. But then I remembered, I was in such a hurry the day that I sent it out that I leaned on a stack of index cards and accidentally had a quarter under it, causing an indentation through the entire stack. But I sent the index cards anyway. So when I looked at my signed index card, I could clearly see the quarter indentation that matched up with the remaining index cards I still had from that stack, thus proving beyond any doubt that this signature was not of Jackie Gleason's. Still today, PSA DNA authenticate these secretarial signatures, and there are many of them for sale today on eBay. The reason for this is simple, because they can only use the evidence they have in books and magazines and internet sites the same as you do. They, just like all the rest of us, do not have known in-person examples of everyone, and do not and cannot use pen strokes. Therefore, they too are always learning and collecting information. On the PSA DNA site under Terms of Use, you will read that they are not liable for accuracy and are not required to give any information, advice, or data of their opinions. PSA, DNA, JSA, and any other authenticating company are not able to guarantee accuracy. Let's take a look at a few others. Here we see O.J. Simpson's secretarial signature. And here's a look at the difference in the secretarial lemon above and the authentic lemon below that we learned from the article in October 2001 issue of Autograph Collector magazine. Yet it would appear that the PSA DNA didn't get a copy of that Autograph Collector issue. As you see here, they authenticated the secretarial signature. Here you see one of Nixon's many auto pen signatures that R&R, one of the top dealers in our country, overlooked. In the above exact copy, a black marker was used. The below copy was for sale in the January 2007 R&R catalog number 317, item 134. And here is an upper deck presidential cut autograph of Eisenhower that is also an auto pen. And again, another presidential auto pen overlooked by the Razor Company. The only way to be 100% certain is to obtain the autograph in person for yourself. The bad day autographs in the hobby are only a small percent when the basic techniques that we are learning in this video are used. Sure, no one is perfect, but PSA, DNA, JSA, and other reputable companies are at least 99% accurate. And let's face it, any hobby has its fakes. Even the money in our pocket needs special markers and tools to check to see if they are authentic. Even our own identity is questionable to others.
You gotta know what you're doing, and you know what, you gotta know who you're buying from. That's all there is to it.
After an in-person autograph, finding a good old-fashioned local dealer is the next best source to a guaranteed authentic autograph. In order to be a good dealer, the person needs to have three things. Number 1, to have a stable location. Number 2, to be an honest person. And number 3, to have a good COA and receipt. A stable location is a place like a flea market, a hobby shop, a place you can find your dealer if you need a refund or have questions regarding your item. Second, and probably most important, you need your dealer to be an honest person. One way to check his honesty is to ask questions you already feel you know the answer to. For example, say he has an Eastwood autograph for sale that looks very secretarial to you, and you ask, "Did you buy this or get it in person?" His answer may be that he did buy it, or that he got it in the mail, or he don't remember at all of which are acceptable. But if he says he did get it in person, this is a strike against him. And if he says the same thing about other items, like auto pens or preprints, you should not trust this dealer and probably should not do business with him. Also remember, you can never tell an auto pen is actually an auto pen unless you have two of them side by side. But remember, never accuse people or look for confrontation. Simply walk away. You don't know his mental status or position. Simply look for another dealer. Okay, you found an honest dealer with a stable location. Now, what about a COA, also known as a Certificate of Authenticity? Well, here's a simple COA, which simply states it certifies an item signed by Hank Aaron to be authentic. The questions here are, number 1, how long is it guaranteed for? Number 2, if you feel it's fake, do you get your money back in full or in part? Number 3, how much was the Hank Aaron autograph? And number 4, what Hank Aaron item was it? Was it a baseball, a bat, a picture? This type of COA has very little meaning, and it is only as good as the dealer's word of honesty. This type of COA is basically useless in the court of law, and if the honest person who sold it to you passes away, it is now completely useless and meaningless paper. Here in this one we see some improvement, as it answers 2 of the 4 main questions. This one tells you how long it's guaranteed, and that a full refund will be given in 45 days if not satisfied. It don't say the amount of the item or specify how to know what 8x10 it is referring to, but it is much more realistic that an honest dealer will recall the price and exact photo within 45 days. This COA is a little more fancy, but only addresses one of the 4 issues. It tells you how long the guarantee is good for, but it don't say what it will do if you're not satisfied. Will you get any refund? It don't say how much the item was, and it don't say which Tom Cruise 8x10 photo it is. So we got a little fancier, but it actually says less. Here is an interesting COA because it fails to give any of the 4 important steps of a COA. It doesn't tell you how long the guarantee is good for, it doesn't tell you if there's a refund, it doesn't tell you how much you paid for it in the first place, and it doesn't tell you what bat was signed, it just tells you it's a bat. But the interesting thing here is, it is another autograph of the celebrity. It's signed by Stan Musial. This one is also fancy with its own stand and a matching sticker, but actually only addresses one of the 4 issues, yet still is a very good COA. This one, number 1, don't tell you how long it's guaranteed for. Number 2, don't say anything about a refund. And number 3, don't say how much the item was. But number 4, it does try to identify the exact helmet to the COA with a matching sticker number. This seems to be a very interesting COA as it appears to be directly from Brett Favre. The one question is, are the stickers tamper-proof? In other words, could they be removed and placed to another helmet? Either way, this is a very good COA. The downside to this COA is if you find out Brett Favre never had his own COAs and that the COA is fraudulent, now you're stuck because you didn't have any money back guarantee. Here we have the best type of COA. This COA covers all 4 important steps. Number 1, it says it guarantees with no time limit. Number 2, will give a full refund if proven to be not authentic. Number 3, the price is on the COA. And number 4, the item is identified with an exact description of check and check number. Yes, it's true, you just can't return the item because you changed your mind and feel suspicious, but need to show some proof, such as a new article that comes out regarding the signed checks or something, or like a letter of refusal from PSA DNA. But this sounds like a very fair and great COA. This COA offers much more than PSA DNA. This COA offers your money back if any proof is ever found. And if you have a COA like this from a known honest dealer in a stable location, you now have the next best thing to an in-person autograph. This COA from Global is like a COA from PSA, DNA, or JSA, as it gives their opinion. It does have one of the 4 important steps, and that is that it's identified with a matching number that is written with a special invisible pen. But unfortunately, as we learned earlier in this video, all authenticators make mistakes, and in this case there is no money back, as the companies offer no guarantee. You're only paying for their opinion. It doesn't matter what you find out in the future, you're stuck with their opinion. Here is a look at a very simple but all you need COA, as long as the dealer is honest and in a stable location. This COA covers all 4 important steps: guaranteed for life, full refund if proven not authentic, and the item number should correspond with the receipt, and also that item number should be written or stamped on the item itself. If unable to put the number on the item itself, a picture of the item will work as well. In conclusion, any COA is only as good as the reputation of the dealer, and if you find a good, honest dealer with a good COA guarantee, you have overcome all the problems of present or future evidence that may prove the item to not be authentic. Collecting autographs in person is a lot like hunting because you don't always get your goal, and it takes a lot of practice to learn the tricks of the trade. First is where to go hunting. You can find info in the newspapers or radio as to schedule signings. There are websites that list book signings and autograph shows. Some of my favorites are Celebrity Book Signings and Events. It lists a lot of book signings and also a lot of shows. SigningsHotline.com is the best site to find where sports celebrities are appearing at autograph shows. The UACC site has listings of shows and also has a lot of good information. You can also find a lot of shows listed on this site as well. The next thing is, what do you want to get signed? Well, this is a matter of personal preference, but here are a few tips to keep in mind. The more expensive an item is worth, the less likely it will be used by forgers. In other words, a forger will not want to mess up when he's forging an expensive item, because he would rather sign index cards or a piece of paper called a cut. He would also sign inexpensive card, baseball card, football cards, or even dollar bills, because he can always spend the messed up dollar bills and lose nothing. But when you get into bats, balls, helmets, gloves, glass bottles, large photos, the chances of these being forged are a lot less, and it helps authenticate your item. Also, multiple signed items are very good, as the more words or names, the more difficult it is for the forger. Here is a wood board that I cut into the shape of a football and puts a few Football Hall of Fame pictures on it and covered it with a thick clear coating, then had many Hall of Famers sign it. And number 3, what type of pen do I use? This is again decided with some personal choice, but in general the best pens to use most of the time are blue, black, silver Sharpie on hard surfaces like glossy photos and helmets, bats. Blue is my favorite. black Sharpie on most other photo surfaces, and baseball cards, football cards. Index cards or newspapers or plain paper, I prefer ballpoint pen. Sometimes black Sharpie's okay. Baseballs and trunks are usually best in ballpoint pen. Don't forget to bring your camera and have fun.
They're afraid. Okay.
Keep the cards on till you see what's on the rise.
Vegetable beef.
And if there's no action,
Chicken noodle soup.
please
Extra
no
bread, please.
answer.
No soup for you!